Okay, hello everybody. I am practicing talking to people on Discord because I have terrible social skills because I just don't talk to people. So what I did was I went on Discord. It's like the website where you can search for different servers on Discord. Discord is the communication platform, and then I kind of like went through them and I found a few, and I've been talking a little bit, but I suck at talking to people. So I joined this one, 21 plus, the last resort. And I kind of would like to evangelize, like that's kind of like the goal. Basically talk about Jesus, share the faith. That's my goal. I think that's more important than anything. And then so somebody said, like, I'll show you my conversation. Like, this is the level I'm at. Like, I find it so hard to talk to people. Um, he said he said sup. I said howdy. He said howdy. Boss man, how was your Christmas, bro? I said mine was great, thanks. I went to a Christmas buffet with my family. How was yours? He said good for you, gee. Same man. Little gathering, drank, that's about it. Same is gonna happen for New Year, lol. I did not know how to respond to this. I seriously, I have such a hard time talking to people. And so I just said, that's good, my goodness. And then I tried to change the subject a little bit and say 2026 coming up already. Um, so I don't really know how like to do a conversation very well. I kind of forget, honestly. And it sounds weird, but I legitimately I have trouble with conversations. And he said, yeah, bro, it's literally around the corner. And I didn't know what to say again, so I said, what do you think 2026 will bring? Like, I feel like my questions sound weird. But I don't even care because it's like very hard to actually have a conversation because I think a lot of people have trouble with conversations. But he said, hopefully more money, man. Definitely want to travel more though. What do you think? I said, wow, that'd be great. I'm hoping for a deeper spiritual life and maybe a girlfriend. I've got a book I'm working on and I'd like to get that published too. And that's kind of where the conversation has gone dry so far. Uh, don't know, maybe he just didn't see the message, but this might be the end of that one. And so, anyways, I was looking on here and it's kind of tricky because, like I say, I want to like basically evangelize and talk about Jesus, but I really am afraid to do that. I have to admit, and I don't like saying it, but I'm a coward when it comes to sharing my faith with people, initiating the conversation. And I kind of like looked it up, and the chat GPT says I said how to evangelize to strangers orthodox, and it had some good examples, but I don't know, I still would have trouble with this because um yeah, I just have trouble with some of them. Like, I agree with it says practical steps. Number one, pray. I think that's actually probably the best step. But then, so it says, pray to God for daily to open up opportunities to guide your interactions. I actually prayed this morning that I would be able to evangelize to one person. And so I already did that. And then number two, it says be approachable and available. So I'm actually just like online. I did go to the gym this morning and I said hello to the girl behind the counter. And she was asking me how my my Christmas was, and I told her like, oh, it was good, and I just went to a buffet with my family, and instead of cooking, and I asked how was hers, and she said she just went to parties. I said okay, and I asked, and then I asked for like another month membership, and she said that it would be cheaper if I did the auto renew. And I said, does it have a commitment of a year? And she said, no, it's a commitment of 2 months. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So, and that was basically the conversation. But, so I'm kind of like slightly getting better at talking to people. It's very slow. Like, this is not a quick thing, okay? I'm 30 years old. I used to talk to people. I sort of stopped talking to people at some point. You know, it's just more like a slow change, like just more and more not talking to people. And yeah, I'm trying to kind of change back to, and it takes conscious and intentioned work. Actually, it's actually like work, kind of, which seems weird because you might think that it should be easy, but for me, it's not that easy. I would like it to be easy, but I need to actually work at it, I think. What do you want? This is my cat. He keeps making a noise. He kind of like makes a murr noise, like murr. I think he's hungry, but he's not supposed to eat for another hour and 15 minutes. Okay, so cat, get out of there. He always steps on the keyboard. Okay, so it says, initiate conversations naturally by noticing things around you and asking questions, being genuinely interested in the other person's life and perspectives. Yeah, I'm not that genuinely interested in people. Not that much. The weird thing is, like, I kind of like, it's like I like people, but I don't at the same time, which makes it really difficult. I just find people really tough to talk to. Like, I just don't know how to really relate anymore. Yeah, so I find it tough, to be honest. Especially with this like genuinely interested stuff. I used to be genuinely interested in people, but then I like studied and learned enough about people, and it's like I just kind of know already. I kind of already know like what people are about and what's going on, and I'm more like at the point where I'm trying to I guess help people or evangelize to people or something, but I'm kind of like scared to do that because it's not actually so easy, and it actually takes a lot of energy as well if you don't do it correctly, and yeah, it's like a risk as well too, but I think it's worth it. Okay, so it says listen actively. Yeah, a lot of the times I'm just like, when I'm in conversations, it's like very hard. It's like rusty gears to get people, like to get a conversation flowing. A lot of stuff like advice and stuff, it kind of assumes that you're always having conversations. You know, you're talking to people all the time. You're just talking about stuff that's not important, like sports or something, or the weather. And it's like, oh, well, just why don't you just, you know, ask a little question, be curious, and blah, blah, blah. I don't even really talk to people. I'm not saying that can't change. I'm just saying that's kind of at present that's what it's been like and is like right now. Okay, share your personal story of how God has worked in your life, focusing on your experience with Christ and the church rather than theological arguments initially. That's actually a good point, because I think I'm kind of like right now I'm a bit too much into the theological arguments, as I really enjoy them. I really I like that. You know, it's like progress. It's like I'm making so much progress, like thinking about these things. I'm actually making, you know, progress. And it's like I'm far down a path, you know what I mean? And obviously the path is Jesus, but that's the way, but it's like the theological arguments, like I already know Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, but a lot of other people don't know that. And so it's like that would lead to an argument. It could lead to an argument if it's like a focus on the arguments initially. It's kind of funny to me. Okay. But this is good advice, actually. Your personal story. That's another thing. I have trouble sharing my personal story. I sort of have like a basic version, but it's almost hard to share a more in-depth version, and I don't want to overshare. I don't want to, put people out. I don't want to, uh, you know, be too vulnerable, and but I do have my own personal story of how God has worked in my life. Um, I just find it difficult to kind of get into that. So maybe I could figure out how to do that better. It says, be prepared to answer questions about your faith with meekness and fear. Knowing the basics of Orthodox teachings, you do not need to have all the answers. Simply offer to find out if you don't know. Okay. I feel like I do have, pretty good answers. And yeah, fear of God, that's for sure. Offer prayer. I would love to do that. The only thing I worry about giving prayer or offering prayer to people, sometimes prayer is like too intense, and it will actually like almost make me feel like I'm gonna cry, because it's such a strong spirit, the Holy Spirit. Um, yeah. So, but that's great advice. I would love to pray for people. Number 8, invite them to a less intimidating church event. I have kind of a funny story about this. Okay, uh, so I was living in this small town in British Columbia. And when I went there, I was thinking that it was going to be like so great. It was not. It was not that great. The nature was beautiful. The people, it was brutal. It was like brutality. Everyone was so defensive. Everyone was weird. There was a lot of like cliques, like groups, like cliques. Um, Everyone was clicked up, and everyone was weird. And there was like this weird distance between people as well that they really wanted to maintain. And I was going there really open, really like energetic, excited. I had just finished my degree. I just got this job. I was like, I'm building a life. I'm coming out here. I'm gonna build a life. I actually told my supervisors, because they were like, and they're constantly trying to gas you up. These people that are trying to give you the job. And I just got a message. I'll check it in a second. And I was saying to them, I'm coming out here. I just got this job. I would love to start a family. I'd love to meet somebody and start a family and work out here. And they just kind of go silent. Like it was too much. It's like, are you people retarded? Like what, why, isn't that normal? Like what's weird about that? And they were also asking all these questions and like trying to like be exciting. And I said like, I'd like to meet somebody and start a family. It's like I think I was like 28 years old. Might have just turned 28. I can't remember. And okay, so I get out there and it's just way different. It's so weird. Everybody's weird. Super defensive. No good conversations. Everyone's kind of like fake, and it's also really childish. And the women run the town as well. Like the men they all follow the women, and the women are just retarded. Not to be like really mean or offensive, but it's all upside down. It's all like transgender, LGBT, everything. It's just like super high stress, super fake. Everyone's laughing when there's not even anything funny. It's like nobody even said anything funny. I'd walk into work and say hi, and my coworkers were all women, and they'd start laughing. What is funny about that? Like it's just weird, But and they're all weird. They're like, "Oh, we're getting a man at work." It's like, what the fuck? what is wrong with these women? Like, it's like high school, some weird shit. But that's literally what it gets to be like when the women run the town. Um, it was horrible. And so, anyways, I went and I was having trouble finding like friends, and it was weird because people would talk to you about um, all this crazy cool stuff, and everyone was trying to like be impressive and share stories and talk about how kind of, on the down low, talk about how cool they are. Oh yeah, I go hiking up the mountain. Oh, do you go up the mountain? Oh yeah, I go up the mountain. I go skiing. Oh yeah, it's great. And yeah, we were up there and we saw a bear and like oh my goodness, and good thing you had your bear spray, right? And it's like, yeah, well, it's a good thing I always bring my bear. It's like, dude, it was so weird. And some people were kind of like, they would make it seem like you're gonna go do something together, but it was never like fully realized. It was all half baked. They're like, some people, and you kind of feel like, oh wow, that's great, that's so nice. The person's like kind of inviting me out, but they would never say like, okay, well, let's go out on Saturday. I can pick you up at 6, or meet me over here at 3 o'clock. We'll go hiking. Oh, you're new in town? Well, would you like to come and do something? Or it was all just kind of like it was like a pole. Like they were like touching you with a pole from 10 feet away and passing messages. And then it's like you like read the message, and you're like, okay, well, how do I respond to this? And it's like their preferred message or way is that you put it on the end of a pole and pass it back. Nothing was very like, it was all weird. Seriously, it was all weird. And yeah, they would invite you, or they would say like, "Oh yeah, maybe we'll go on a hike sometime." It's always like sometime. You know what I mean? And yeah, so it's just bizarre, very bizarre. And so, anyways, I was out there, and it was horrible. And then I went out to go try and meet people and get a new hobby. I went to a rock climbing class. So they had this rock climbing training at the local community center. They had like some rock climbing walls in there, and it was nice that they had that. It was a small town of like, around 5,000 people, so it was nice they had some stuff. And then um, I met a girl there. It was like there were some other people, and then I think there was like one guy, and it was like a bunch of women. And the guy was like he was like with his girlfriend or his wife or something, and then there was like maybe two other girls and two female instructors. And then they were kind of saying like, oh yeah, and exchange numbers, and maybe you guys can practice, and you need to do your practice before we do our test. And um, so it's like everybody just wants to talk about nothing. All they were all just like bullshit chit chatting, like, oh, how are you? And it's like I like didn't really understand. Like I don't really, I don't love doing that. And then I said, um, can I take your number, and we can um, practice together, because you actually need two people for that type of rock climbing. It's like belaying. One person holds the rope at the bottom and kind of like releases it as the other person, or pulls it tight or releases it as the other person goes up or down. And so I got the number, and then of these different people, and then the one girl, she said that it was like really fast how I took her number. And it's like, okay, I don't even understand. Like, how do you get anything done? How does anything happen if somebody doesn't do something? Was I supposed to wait? But anyways, that's just like a minor thing, kind of a weird thing. But so anyways, getting back to the thing, I was going to this Catholic church in town, all old people, all gray hair. There was like maybe one other person that was younger, and he was like a salesman guy, and it was more of this like, oh well, maybe we'll go do something sometime. It's like, okay, I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be great, but it's like, if you're gonna say that, what do you expect? Like, do you expect me to plan it? I don't get it. Like, when people do that all the time. But that's kind of like the culture out there. It was really fake, and it was never direct. It was all like, if you want, sometime, kind of stuff. It's very weird. Um, and everybody kind of seemed like they had something better to do, or like whatever. Um, a lot of the time, and so, anyways, it was pretty weird at that church too. And the priest was weird. Not to be too mean, but he was. There was something going on with that priest. And then so I was going to this church and like every Sunday, and like also volunteering too for certain things, like set up and putting stuff away for certain events. And but anyways, and then I they had like a church event, like a barbecue, and I invited that rock climbing girl, and it was like really hard to get her to come. But it wasn't like she would just give a no. It was more like she would just give like a, well, think about it. Okay, maybe. It's like, I didn't really understand it. So I invited her like a few times. And by this point, I think there was already somebody else who was actually kind of young, who started going to that church. And we were friends, I guess. It was a girl as well. And then, this other person came, but she's like, okay, fine, you got me. And she came, and it was a meal, but honestly, it was kind of awkward. And I feel like she probably felt uncomfortable, and I don't know. I'm not trying to like be mean to that church or anything. They put on a nice barbecue and meal and everything, but it's just it's just tough. You know what I mean? When it's like all old people, you can't relate to anybody. There's like a little group of the young people. It's like it makes people feel kind of awkward, and it's like, how do I fit in and everything like that. But to her credit, she did come, and I pray for her. But yeah, it was tough. And so what I tried to do was I tried to actually start a church group. I wanted there to be like a church group, so that that people could join. Like, it just seems so logical to me that there should be a place. Like, everything is like, oh, if you want, and be very careful. It's like, there's some people out there that are hungry, for community, hungry for faith, hungry for deeper spiritual life. They have questions. They actually want people to engage with them. They may seem rough around the edges, but they actually want somebody to engage with them. They're looking for truth. They're just maybe put off for some reason, but they're like, well, I'll still do it. And it's kind of like in the back of their mind. But I tried to start this church group, and it was so hard to get it going because of the priest. Meanwhile, the priest was organizing like a pastoral council where everybody goes and sits on it. I went and I sat on the pastoral council. I got elected or whatever. And I was like the youngest person there. And it was like a bunch of old women, not to be mean or anything, but it's like a bunch of women, two guys, and I was the youngest one there, and the priest. And it's like, dude, you're not gonna get anywhere with like this is all wrong. Like, it's like you're not doing things correctly. And it's like, is it really my place to say that? But I knew that, but it's like not really my place. So he was like complaining. He was saying that the whole church is sinking. He's like showed a video of the Titanic. He was like having a freak out. But then the people there didn't want, like, they're like, we don't want to be really a part of your freak out. Like, someone there, and I actually really agreed with this one woman. She said, we've already won. We have Jesus. We've already won. But he was having a freak out, just about like the declining Catholic membership. And I said, like, well, I had put my hand up. I was like, I have something we could do. Like I have a somewhat of a solution, or at least, something we could do. I said we could have a Bible study, and I said we could evangelize and put out flyers or try and spread the message in the community. And it's like the priest didn't even really hear it. It's like he was blind to it. And 7 months later, he kind of said stuff like, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, maybe that's a good idea. Okay, well, I'll think about it. Okay, well, let's talk about that more later." It's like, dude, it's like weird, This is an actual. You're having a freak out. What's your solution? Here's an actual solution. You haven't provided any, and he's doing this stuff. It's like, let's make a poster, or let's make on the whiteboard. What do we want in our church? Here, everybody, let's all read this book that I read, called, what was it? It was like Divine Renovation or something. I read like a little bit of it, and I didn't even agree with the priest, like right off the bat, because the priest that wrote it was saying that he was trying to like characterize Jesus as being cool, calm, and collected when he was kicking the people out of the temple. And the whole premise of the book was about that it's like an identity problem. It's actually true. He's on the right path, but I just didn't like that first part where he's like characterizing Jesus. Like, you don't know Jesus, how his mental state was. He's God. Why would you even, unless he explicitly tells you? And if you like, that's like the whole thing. I was like, you're saying he's cool, calm, and collected? Like, what is that? Who are you to say that? I didn't really like that from that priest. I think if anything, Jesus was passionate, about kicking out the usurers from the temple. But anyways, so I had to do all these meetings with this priest, and it was just like at a certain point, it was like, let's have a meeting so that we can plan another meeting. I was like, this is so stupid. And then the priest, and it became this like big thing too, because I was like, let's get this Bible study going. And then there's the Knights of Columbus within the church, and it's like the priest doesn't even like them. They don't even like each other. And the knights are all like annoyed, and they're trying to recruit members, and they recruited me. At first I didn't even really care, like I didn't even really want to do it, but they just like, they're trying to sell you on it. It's like me and all these old guys and some Filipinos. That was all the new membership. It's all Filipino. That's why this country is like, it's like great replacement. It's all the new people, all the new young people. It's like mostly immigrants, or they're newborn Canadians, but they're not white. They're brown. They're from Philippines, India, wherever else, China. So yeah, that's called the Great Replacement. But anyway, the knights and this priest didn't even like each other. And then they were having fights about the Bible study. It's like, man, what is this? That's something I don't like. I don't like going into a situation and then trying to do something good, and it just gets torn apart. You know what I mean? By other people. Like, what's even the point, right? Like, just so that they can refresh drama and then have something new to scuffle over. It's like I'm like, let's set up a new court. Let's start to build something new. And they're like, oh, hey, here's a new space that we haven't destroyed. Let's jump in here and rip it apart. So I was like, this is, kind of getting ridiculous. Like, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get your desired fix by behaving like that. And these guys are old too. These guys are like in their 70s, and the priest, I think he's like 60. And it's like, dude, this is ridiculous. Why are these old people like this? What is wrong with boomers? But legitimately, boomers have ruined this country. They've sold it out. They're cowards. Like, I don't like to be mean, but they don't talk about anything. They're afraid to. It's all social standing, money, greed. Yeah, and they're psyoped. They're so psyoped. Yeah, so anyways, that's why I say Canada's like defensive, passive aggressive, and cynical. That's basically what has happened. And we have like this veneer that everybody's friendly and everything, but no, because it's gone. It's like been taken advantage of too much. um, at this point. And so the country is cooked. But anyway, I was trying to do this thing, and then so they had like a big blow up at one point. They were yelling at each other, shouting at each other, and I was like trying to figure out what should I do, because I'm also praying at the same time. And I thought like, well, maybe I'll have like them both sit down together, and then I'll sit down too, and we can all plan it out. And then I realized that's retarded. It's like, forget that. I'm not gonna do that. You know, that's shot. Like, forget it. And they're both trying to recruit me to their side as well, like at different occasions, trying to explain to me their side and how like like what's going on. And it's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I really, I'm trying to do something else here. I'm not trying to fix your drama. Um, yeah. So I don't know. It was tough, and that's a tricky situation. But I eventually did get the Bible study approved, and then I did it, and I had people come, and a lot of people were telling me, "Why don't you just do it at your own house? Why don't you just start it by yourself?" And I kind of knew that it was important to do it through the church. Like, I think that is important. Like, and honestly, that should be the way it is. Like, that shouldn't be a challenge. It was a challenge, but I made it happen. And then we actually ran the Bible study, and it went fairly well. The priest put a bunch of limitations on it, that I could only have so many members. The knights made it so that we had to have it men only and following their programming. And they had decent programming. I'm not gonna put that programming down, but and I don't mind that it was men only, but a lot, like, there was actually women that were upset about it, that they couldn't come in. And I'm like, you don't even understand. I'm not doing this to spite you specifically because you're a woman, like, to individual women, although they kind of seem to think that. I'm like, there's a lot going on here. And I think there's actually different dynamics. And I told them, if you want to have a women's Bible study, start one. Be the leader. You can do it. And none of them wanted to. So, yeah, that's kind of like, that's the challenges. But anyway, so that's kind of a long story about the challenges. But now I'm converting to Orthodox. I'm a catechumen now, and I find Orthodoxy seems to be much better. And the priest at this new Orthodox church seems to be way more normal as well. Again, I'm not trying to be mean to that other priest. Really, I'm just saying, like, this guy the whole thing had issues. Like, the whole community had issues. He had issues as well, but he was like blowing up. He like blew up at somebody at that pastoral council, this woman, because he was saying that nobody in the community supported him. He was saying that there was like a school attached, and he pointed to it. He's like, none of the teachers from this school have invited me for dinner except for the principal. And one of the people there, I think she was either an former teacher or was a teacher, and she blew up at him like, do not blame the teachers, do not put down the teachers. And he blew up at her back, and it's like, he's like saying, I'm saying that's how I feel. It's like, oh my goodness, dude. It was literally just a vent session. The pastoral council was like a vent session. But yeah, that was tough. So I got out of there. I'm not in that town anymore. But Canada is still really difficult in general. But anyways, I still want to evangelize. I feel like it's important. And I'd like to go to more Bible studies. Okay. Provide appropriate spiritual materials, right. Well. Oh, this is a good point at the bottom here. Ultimately, be a consistent witness to Jesus Christ in your daily life and trust the Holy Spirit to draw people to Himself. That makes total sense. Let's see, I got a ping here. Oh, look at this. See, someone says, oh shit, you're a writer. What is this book about? I'll put it, it's about different realities. It's about how people are living in different realities at this point. I connected the map of consciousness to narrative theory and supported it with what was it called? Hoffman's interface theory and I could also talk about Gödel, but I'll just and other theories. Maybe I'll say, yes, thanks for asking. The book is about how people are living in different realities at this point. I connected the map of consciousness to narrative theory and supported it with interface theory, and I'll say, and should I say Gödel's incompleteness theorem? I'll say it. There. So this is kind of interesting. This is kind of an inroad. So the book is a Christian book that I'm writing, or that I have a draft finished for. I just come at it from a different angle, you know? I come at it from a much different route. I basically come at it from a narrative route or a narrative lens, but also a consciousness lens. It's like I start with consciousness, you know? And it's obviously it's complicated, but I find it like it makes sense to me, and I like sharing it with people, but yeah, so there we go. There's one person. Maybe I'll tell them. Maybe I should have given the abstract. Oh well. Maybe I should have actually. I should remember the abstract. Okay, so next, I'm gonna check and see if I could talk to people on other servers. So here's one more, Big Talk. Discord is really retarded, but yeah, that's okay. So I joined also Christian servers. See, that's the thing. If it's a Christian server, then they're already probably... I'll asks, does anybody want to talk about Jesus? Hi, does anyone want to talk about Jesus in DM? Oh, cool. This guy's a groiper, slightly disabled groiper. I'll see if anybody will say they want to talk about. So yeah, that's kind of my where I'm at for talking to people. Not very good at it. Trying to learn how to talk to people again. Find it difficult though. So nobody responded. It's possible that they might, but here's prayer request. Pray for my father, please. I don't really know. Pray for our sister. Give that a heart. So anyways, I guess I'll end the video there because it's kind of it. It's kind of all I got so far. Yeah, I guess that's it.